I do something and I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your big homie, the armchair operator, and today I got a little something different for y'all. So today I just want to talk really quickly about how I got started in the world of firearms and in the whole 2A space as it is, right? So the main point behind this video is more so geared towards those who are brand new to guns, brand new to the world of firearms. They never shot a gun before in their life, or someone who's kind of curious about it, whether they're just trying to learn more about, you know, guns, how they work, about the laws and so on and so forth, etc. Or some of those people are kind of on the fence, you know, maybe they've been thinking about, you know, purchasing their first gun, but they're not really sure because of all the things that they hear on TV. And even those who are just flat out against guns. So that's the kind of the point of this video. But before I get into any of that, as always, I gotta thank my new subscribers. Thank y'all very much for subscribing to the channel. I really do appreciate it. For all the people who have subscribed previously, I still thank you as well. The channel is growing thanks to y'all. It is really thanks to y'all. So I gotta give my respect and my props to all of y'all. So I really appreciate it. But anyway, if you like this video, definitely hit that like button, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. I got some more content coming for y'all as always. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. So just stay tuned to the channel to get updated for when I release my latest content. All right. So back to the story. So anyway, my journey into firearms really got started, I would say, about 2006 or whatever the case may be. Back then, I was working as a private security officer. And, you know, at that time, I was just basically looking to step up my game a bit. You know, I was doing unarmed security for, at that point, I think about 6 years. And I just wanted to make more money. So that's kind of how I got started in, you know, the world of guns, you know, I would say a bit more seriously. Now, when I was a kid, my father, you know, he had a shotgun. My grandfather had a couple of rifles, a couple of shotguns, but I really didn't grow up in that environment where I was, you know, I was taught how to properly handle a firearm, you know, how they work and all the laws and things like that. You know, I didn't really get introduced to that until later in life. And actually, you know, I'm an inner city kid. You know, I grew up in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, born and raised. I know the whole Fresh Prince thing, but it's the truth. I spent most of my life in West Philly. And if you know anything about Philadelphia, you know that it is a largely Democratic city. Now, with that, you know, there are going to be certain opinions and viewpoints regarding guns, gun ownerships, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I hate to say it, but it's just been kind of like that, you know. Largely Democratic cities have a certain attitude towards guns and gun rights and so on and so forth. And it's a shame the way it is. So that was kind of my environment growing up. And frankly, I didn't know any better back in those days. I just kind of listened to what, you know, maybe some of my relatives might have said, or what I might have heard on television, what some of the politicians came out and they said, and all of these different things. And I didn't really think twice about it because I didn't know. Not only that, at the time, my mindset really wasn't geared more towards that. So it didn't really start changing until, honestly, I started this path more so for work-related purposes and nothing else. So in Pennsylvania, so I was wanting to go and be an armed security guard, right? So in Pennsylvania, you have to get something what's called a Pennsylvania Act 235, which is Pennsylvania's Lethal Weapons Training Act. And essentially, it's just a law that specifically says that if you carry a gun as a condition of employment, you have to have an Act 235. And of course, this does not apply to law enforcement, but this will apply to your private security officers, your private investigators, private detectives, whatever, armor car drivers, things like that. So if you have a job like that in the state of Pennsylvania and you have to carry a firearm, you have to be certified under the Pennsylvania Act 235. So that's how I got started. Now, in the process of doing that, and if I remember correctly, it's been years since I've done this, so, you know, bear with me a little bit. But originally, I believe the state mandated that you have 40 hours of training for the Act 235. So with that, you had a classroom portion, and of course you have a range portion where you have to qualify on the shooting range. And I believe it was you had to qualify with a revolver, and you had to just be more familiar with the shotgun. And that's just the way the law was written originally, because that was what was predominantly out there at the time that the law was created. So I started that journey in November of 2006. And before I started the class, I just started researching different things, because the way my mind works is I like to be able to understand things. I want to know how they work. I want to know why things happen the way they happen. And I've always been the type of person where if I'm curious, I'm going to research this information on my own. So I did a lot of research on my own before I even set foot in the class. I just looked up how, a cartridge is constructed, like the different components of what makes a bullet, so to speak. What is actually the bullet when you look at a bullet in the box? There's, anybody who really knows guns understand that. But for those who don't know, bullets are actually composed of three main parts. You have your primer, you have your powder charge, well, really four parts, really think about it. You have your primer, your powder charge, the actual case that everything is encapsulated in, and you have the projectile itself. That part is the bullet. So I didn't know all of this until I started researching and studying on my own. But anyway, so I went through the Act 235, I went through the 40-hour class, and the class at the time was taught by an active duty police officer. He was a sergeant. And just hearing some of the things that he had to say about the use of force, the use of deadly force, different commands and different things like that, and just different situations that we could encounter even as, private security officers, it just kind of started changing things in my mind. And the common denominator is that you really have to look out for yourself out here, no matter where you are. Whether you're in your home, whether you're at work, whether you're at the grocery store, whether you're in the street, it doesn't matter. You are your own first responder. And a lot of people in the 2A community talk about that, but it's true. It's really true. So just listening to some of his story, some of his experiences, and just teaching us about different things, it really started to make me see things a little bit differently. Because if there's one thing that I kind of figured out very early on, is like, if a crime is committed, you have to understand that, granted, yes, you call 911, but you have to survive that encounter before 911 even shows up. And I just gave it a term like called a point of incident or the point of contact, whatever you want to call it. And basically what that is you're going about your daily life, lightning strikes and a crime happens. Let's say you get carjacked, or you're somewhere and you have an active shooter. That's the occurrence, that's the incident. So from the time that happens until the time law enforcement can get notified and the time when law enforcement can actually arrive on the scene to address the situation, that window can vary greatly depending on a lot of different circumstances. So the question is, what are you going to do within that window? And when I started looking at things like that, it was like, yeah, what are you going to do? Now, granted, that question is something that all of us as individuals have to ask ourselves long before we even decide to whether we're going to take this journey into the world of firearms or what. Because that's a universal question, no matter how you feel, no matter what you think, no matter what your potential response is going to be. That is a question that every single man and woman has to consider. It's just the way the world is. So, but anyway, that's kind of how I got started. So there's a range qualification that you have to pass. And of course I passed that and did everything. Maybe about a few weeks later, I got my Act 235 card from Harrisburg. And while at the same time I did that, I applied for my Pennsylvania license to carry because I wanted to have them both at the same time. Now, Pennsylvania is kind of odd as in that you can't use an Act 235 card in lieu of a license to carry. And you can't use a license to carry really in lieu of an Act 235. So me personally, I just said, well, I'm just going to get both and call it a day, which is what I did. And things just kind of got started from there. I'm still a state certified Act 235 security officer, even though I don't work in security really nowadays, but I still hold that active license, and I've been maintaining it all these years. And let's talk about my first carry gun. So my first carry gun, I'm gonna take y'all back, because I'll take y'all back to the old school. My first carry gun was a Smith & Wesson Model 645, chambered in 45 ACP. Now, back then, like, I was not very knowledgeable about guns, obviously. And I saw this particular gun at the range I was at the time. I was actually going through the 235 class, and I saw that. I thought it was a 1911. I've always been a big fan of the look of the 1911. So it was just kind of like, yeah, I want to get that. I want to get that. So I bought it, and it was a cool gun. It's a really nice gun. Fun fact, it was featured in Miami Vice back in the 80s. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was Don Johnson's gun. Might have been his. I'm not sure. I don't really remember, but it was in Miami Vice for sure. So anyway, I got that, and basically that's just kind of how I got started in the game. So why am I bringing this up? So like I said before, I came up in I would say in a very democratic environment. I don't like to do the whole party politics thing really, because I have certain opinions on that. But my point to say that is, between my background and the type of different mindsets that I was surrounded by, a lot of people were either not knowledgeable or very anti-gun. So my advice to anyone who is thinking about purchasing their first gun, or whether you're talking about concealed carry, home defense, if you're thinking about getting into, say, private security, armed security, private investigation, different things like that, armored car driver, whatever, or any type of professional employment where you have to carry a firearm, my advice, which has really helped me, is to approach the subject matter with the position of learning to understand. And I say learning to understand because a lot of times people approach situations really to just regurgitate a point of view that they heard somebody else say. Or maybe they don't agree with your position, so they're just listening enough to come up with a rebuttal to your point of view. Approach this from actually trying to learn. If you approach things from a position of learning to understand, you can really educate yourself, and you'll see things a bit different. You may see things a bit differently than you do now. So that's how I am. Even me, I've been doing this, like I said, 2006, what's that, 17 years now? I think, something like that. Yeah, like 17 years now, going on 18 years. I'm still a student to this. I'm still a student in the world of guns. I'm still learning. I learn every day. The part of the reason why I decided to do this YouTube channel too was to also learn different things and to develop myself, and also to learn from you guys too. So, I know people like to make comments, which is great. And my idea is for each one teach one. There's a lot of people out there that have been doing this a lot longer than I have, So I'm still trying to learn, and I'm still trying to grow. And I also want to pass on some of the things that I've learned over the years to some of you who might be, new, or might be curious, or maybe you're in the game and maybe, maybe there's a different way of looking at something, or, maybe something you might have thought about. But that's just kind of the power of, different perspectives or different points of view, even diversity, and that there's strength in that. So I firmly believe in that. So that is the reason why I want to just convey that to you guys. So guys and gals, excuse me. So that way, like I said, approach this from a position of learning. Now, how do you do that? One of the first things you do is, and this may sound biased as hell, but I don't care, turn off the evening news. I'm going to write that off right from the gate. And I say that because as you start researching the actual laws involving firearms, both at the state, the federal and even the municipal levels in a lot of cases, and you read the laws and then you talk to people who are knowledgeable about the laws and you start to understand them, I guarantee a lot of the things that you're going to hear on the evening news, you're going to call BS really quickly, because a lot of it is doctored and misinformation. And the only way you're going to know that is if you educate yourself. You have to educate yourself, but you have to approach it from a position of understanding. So the first thing you do, learn the laws of the federal level, learn the laws of your state, learn the laws of your local municipality, city, township, wherever the case may be. Learn your laws. The next thing you should learn is learn how guns actually work. So take a basic pistol class. That's a great way to do that. Or if you have a friend who's knowledgeable, and I say air quotes knowledgeable, I mean really knowledgeable, because not everybody in this space, I hate to say it, aren't very knowledgeable. That's just, it's a shame, but that's what it is. But seek out knowledgeable individuals, ask them questions, have them take you to the range, have them show you different things. And matter of fact, turn on YouTube. And that's another great thing about YouTube nowadays, because back when I started, I don't even know if YouTube was a thing. It might have been around, but there certainly weren't a whole bunch of YouTubers creating gun related or 2A related content on YouTube. It just wasn't a thing back then. But now you have that. So that's just another means that you could use to educate yourself. But then you might say, well, big homie, how do I know who to listen to? Well, for that, start with your sources. So first of all, if you're looking up laws, go to your state legislators' websites. Every state has one. For Pennsylvania, you want to look up the Pennsylvania crimes codes, and a lot of the firearms related laws are enumerated in the crimes code, specifically when you're talking about the use of force and the use of deadly force. Those things are enumerated in the crimes codes. The next thing you can do is just, if you're talking about how guns actually work, there are tons of sources out there. There are books, there are blogs, there are a lot of different resources where they actually talk about the science behind firearms, how they actually work, how they're put together, the history, and so on and so forth. So when I say truly educate yourself, I mean educate yourself. If you want to look at crime statistics, and if you want to see if some of the crimes numbers are real that you hear it on TV, I believe NIJ, National Institute for Justice, but definitely the FBI, definitely, because the FBI, they keep they do stat tracking every single year for different things. So unbiased sources is my point. Look at those sources. Start to absorb some of that and just read it. Like I said, read it from a point of trying to understand. The data is there. You just have to be careful of how you consume that data, because fact is, a lot of people have agendas where they'll take data points and they'll skew them a bit to suit their arguments. The only way you're going to know when that happens is if you start to educate yourself. So education is key. Now, once you start to do that, and you start to educate yourself on the different laws of different things, start training. Training is very important. A lot of people talk about training in the gun world, and I myself, granted, yes, I go to the range often because I'm a YouTuber now, granted, but even before then, I did it a lot. I have taken some, live instructor-led classes. I myself am a certified basic pistol instructor myself. But even so, I know I need to do more training, and I am absolutely going to do more training. So I extend this to you guys. Train. Get out there. Whatever you decide to get out there and be proficient with it. You have to be proficient with it, because this is the thing. Gun handling skills are a perishable skill. So if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And anybody that's been involved in this industry for any length of time will tell you the exact same thing. I have lived it plenty of times. There were times when I might have only went to the range literally once or twice a year, if that, mainly due to cost or mainly because life stuff kind of got in the way and it really wasn't like a priority to me. And when I got back out there on the range, I shot like crap because it's been so long. So definitely train and keep up on your training. Yeah, so I mean, my last piece of advice, if you're talking about like which gun, this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but if you're not sure about which gun you want to get if it's your first time, find a gun store with a range. Because in a lot of cases, if they know that you're looking to buy a gun, they will allow you to rent one and try it out. And a lot of the range, especially like the ones in my area, they will give you a free safety lesson because we want everybody to be safe. Safety is paramount with us. Contrary to what you might hear, some of us are safety Nazis, honestly, which is fine, because one thing about me, like especially if I have a student or I'm doing one-on-one, safety is priority one. One thing I will not allow is unsafe gun handling acts in my presence, period. I won't tolerate it. So, but get trained, get some instruction, try out your potential gun of choice before you buy it. The reason for that is if the gun is not comfortable for you to handle, carry, or shoot, you're not going to carry it, you're not going to shoot it. It's going to sit in a safe somewhere at home or in a nightstand someplace, and it does you absolutely no good sitting in the house. So get out there, get rid of the excuses, and train. If you don't really have the money for ammunition, do dry fire. There are plenty of resources on YouTube where you could do some dry fire exercises. You could practice your grip, you could practice your trigger manipulation. There's a lot of different things you can do. And also nowadays, there are dry fire systems that you can do that can actually simulate recoil. If y'all would like to see that on the channel, let me know, because I've been thinking about getting one in particular. I think it was the Mantis system. I keep seeing it like here and there when I go to the gun shows. So if y'all want to see that, let me know down in the comment section. I'll definitely make that happen for y'all. But like I said, dry fire, practicing your shooting grip, practicing your trigger manipulation, malfunction clearing drills. All those things are very, very important to safe and proficient gun handling, and you have to stay up on it. But anyway, I'm going to end it there. Like, I could literally keep talking about this for another 45 minutes, and I'm not trying to tie y'all up. I'm trying to keep my videos short and sweet and to the point. But anyway, if y'all like today's video, smash that like button down below. Leave me a comment, share the video, subscribe, let me know what you think. I would really like to hear how a lot of other people got started within the gun world and 2A space. Did you grow up in it? Did you just tell me about your story about how you got involved in it and where you're at right now. I think stuff like that will help other people, especially those who may not be in the 2A space right now. Maybe they'll just give them like a different perspective on things and just give them a little something to think about as far as their journey. But all right, y'all, anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. This is your big homie, the armchair operator, and I'm out, signing off.